Hey, Brad Taves here. Welcome to the B-Rad podcast. Glad you're here. I have been doing this podcast for a couple years now, and this is the 50th episode that I've recorded. Didn't think I'd get this far. And I'm not quite sure if I'm going to keep going, to be honest. I'm in a process of change and reflection, thinking about what I've done up to this point and where I'm going, kind of in the nature of even this podcast itself, about becoming and the process of transformation and becoming radical in who you are as a person. I'm right there with you in that process. And so I don't know if this may be the last one, maybe not. But I did want to say thank you just to everyone who has been listening, who I've been able to have conversations with and getting feedback. It's really meant a lot to me. And if this has helped you or giving you some ideas to think about or whatever it's done for you, that's awesome. And I've appreciated the comments and the feedback from you. But I just want to give you a heads up that this might be the last one or maybe not. I don't know. But that is where I'm at with all of that. So today I want to talk about my connection to dōTERRA, which is an essential oil company. And there's a piece of what they do that is really brilliant, and it acts as a big mirror to a lot of the rest of life and how we function and how we live and the way that we find meaning and purpose in the world. So we are going to talk a little bit about essential oil. We're going to talk about how that relates to you, whether you use essential oils or not. Besides the point, maybe you will after this episode, but that's going to be the focus point. So I hope you enjoy this episode. About 7 years ago, my wife, Donna, and I, we were introduced to dōTERRA, and at that point in our lives, we had been on this road of holistic well-being. We had made many changes in our lifestyle, the food that we were eating, the things that we were drinking, the things that we were consuming on our body, lotions, soap, the quality of our water, the air of our house, all these things. We were very critical about what we were taking in because we knew that it had an effect on us. We had gone through a lot of health crisis with our kids and even with ourselves to a certain degree, and we were looking for solutions that were going to be helpful. And so when dōTERRA came along, we had already made a lot of great choices, and it just became this other tool in our tool kit to help us to make really helpful choices that had a huge impact on our lives, on our physical well-being and our emotional state, and even changing us spiritually. So it has really been just a phenomenal experience. The name dōTERRA comes from this Latin derivative meaning gift of the earth. Absolutely love that, the language there, gift of the earth. Well, what is this gift? How do you unpack it? How do you receive it? What kind of benefits do you get from this gift that the earth is giving to you? There is some amazing components to dōTERRA, but the one that I really want to focus on today comes from this website that they've created, and it's called source2you.com. And it gives people, whether you're in dōTERRA as a consumer or you're building a business there or you're just curious about what it all is, it gives a really great snapshot of start to finish what dōTERRA is a part of. And in a nutshell, you can go to the website at some point to check it out if you haven't gone there already, source2you.com. And it gives this kind of chronological step-by-step process in which they describe how these oils come to you as a person. I don't know how you operate, but if you are in a store and if you're shopping online or any kind of like marketplace kind of transaction, do you ever wonder how this thing got to your hand? How many other hands touched that thing before it landed into your palm of your hand? There's almost like an obscurity around the process in which products are manufactured, food is created, shirts are put together or sewn, or computers are are put together? Like how does it come to be that now I have this thing in my house, on my shoulders, and in my hands as I'm driving the car? It's a really great question, right? And there is a greater transparency in our world for companies to share their story, especially if they're proud of their story and they are standing with confidence to say, we have taken the utmost measures to make sure that we are bringing the very best quality to you. And we're not doing it on the backs of child labor, perhaps in other parts of the world. We're not cutting corners by hurting the earth by doing this, but we are making ethical, fair trade, fair sourced, ecologically friendly, keeping in mind the entire picture. And I'm really grateful that that trend is happening in our world, because it ensures then that when we are consuming and we are part of the marketplace, that our dollars are supporting those who we feel alignment with. No longer is it just, well, what's the bottom line here? What's the cheapest version? Or even if it wasn't the cheapest, we don't care maybe because our head was in the sand. But it seems like our head is out of the sand, and we are now cognizant, we are mindful, we are caring enough to know that we want to know, where did this come from? Who am I supporting by doing this? Am I just creating more landfill junk that doesn't help our planet? So I think the change in our society is great. So that was a tangent, but back to doTERRA. So how does doTERRA source their essential oils? Let me give you a little quick synopsis. So it goes from the growers, starts there, right? And there are co-impact sourcing models that doTERRA uses to connect with farmers who are growing a particular plant, perhaps for generations, and they understand the environment. They understand that there's issues of poverty involved in these places in the world where these plants grow, but the systems around them, or the economy is struggling, and yet they have this amazing product that can be useful, especially in the context of these essential oils. So doTERRA has done a great job to connect, and we've seen this firsthand. My wife and I have traveled to Guatemala to see the production of cardamom essential oil. Donna went to Brazil to see copaiba, and I hope to go on more trips to understand the process, because it is extremely complicated and it's messy and it's very human, the process by which doTERRA gets these essential oils. And it's good to understand that this company that we've aligned with is mindful that it takes cooperation. It takes a very holistic perspective to work with farmers to produce these amazing essential oils. So it goes from farmers and growers to the distillers, right? And that actually where you take the plant and you distill it down, and you are mindful of the chemistry. And there's some great practices around good distillation and bad distillation. Then the next step is scientists. doTERRA has many people involved in making sure that they are testing these oils properly. And by doing this, they are not only the most tested, but they are the most trusted in the industry because of the standards that they've set to ensure that these are what they say they are. So we have that involved. There's practitioners, and that would involve the medical and the university communities. And these partnerships are really becoming the forward movement of doTERRA, because their vision is to not just have like a boutique alternative essential oil off to the corner, but they want to integrate that. They want to integrate these oils into the mainstream mindset of how to become well. And that includes coming into partnership with perhaps other medicines or other pharmaceutical companies or other environments where your doctors are involved, and they are now working with you to help you, and they will include essential oils if that seems appropriate. And then the last part of this step is you. So it goes from growers, distillers, scientists, practitioners, and then it ends up in your hands, in your home. And it affects your mind, affects your body, it affects your spirit, and it comes into your life. So that is the process from source to you. Now, doTERRA is very specific about what they care about, and if you go to this website, you'll see at the very top, it says, explore how doTERRA sources only the most pure, potent, and effective oils on earth. So those three words are really important: pure, potent, and effective. And I'm going to circle back to that a bit later in this episode, but that's the mission here in dōTERRA, is how do we find and make sure that we're providing something that's pure, something that is effective, that actually does something that is potent, so it has some oomph to it, some staying power. And in order to do that, to fulfill on this promise, there are steps that need to be taken. This doesn't happen without intention, without action, to ensure that this is what is actually going to make it to you, to the consumer. Now, I've made a list here, and just if you can go with me in this as far as an imagination, I think the last episode I talked about this beautiful function of imagination that we have. So essential oils come from different parts of plant material, and it could be parts of trees or flowers or roots or shrubs. And when you go through this process and it becomes an essential oil, and you put these liquid drops into your hand, and then you apply it onto your body topically, it went from something that was growing in nature, and now it's changing your nature. It's coming into you. So here, I'm going to give you a list of how this works from source to you. Here we go. Tree to toe. Roots to wrists, shrubs to shoulders, bark to back, flower to forehead, leaves to limbs, plants to palms, seed to skin, needles to neck, and last one is soil to your soul. So all these things that were found naturally occurring in our beautiful world, they were created there. They've been flourishing there. And then through our human ingenuity, we take that into our nature. That becomes part of ourselves. I'm really proud to partner with dōTERRA for all the reasons that I've been talking about. And again, I encourage you to go to source2you.com just to get a glimpse of the lives that are being affected and touched. And this is the process. And they are not the only company that does this by any means. But it's great, and I feel this sense of pride to be aligned to a group of people who believe in what they do, and it matters to them where these sources are, because then ultimately it comes to us. So if it's going to reside in our bodies, then it's the question of where does it come from becomes paramount. Now, I have mentioned this before, I don't know what episode it was, but I saw this great circle one time that described this in a very succinct way. And if you imagine the circle, there's basically one line going around let's say from noon to 6, and then a line going from 6 back to noon. So just imagine like a clock, circular clock. And on the right-hand side, from the noon to 6, that is source to you. That is spirit breathing itself into you and becomes matter. You could say it goes from a really high frequency that is beyond the speed of light, right? This unknown, mysterious quantum realm that is infinity, eternity, God, source, love, the great mystery, and then it slows down its vibration and it ends up becoming matter. It becomes your body. It becomes the earth. It becomes a star. It becomes a dog. It becomes something physical in nature. So it's source to you. And then the circle continues around this clock, this circle, and it goes then from you back to source. Because if source was given to you and it became part of you, then you now are expressing that divine DNA. And it's wanting to come back full circle up to itself because it was given to you. And matter is expressing itself as an expression of the divine. And this circle continues. It flows. It's not like a static thing where at one point you were birthed into existence by the divine and then you're just left to your own devices. Good luck with that. Maybe some people think that, or maybe they don't even think that at all. Maybe it's just coincidence. It's random. There's no purpose to life. But that seems kind of a hopeless worldview. So if we are here by some virtue of divine intelligence, then it makes sense in that would go somewhere. It would have some system in which it gets played out. And it makes sense to me that if Source is breathed into us, that we would have something inside of us that wants to express this Source. And it comes back to itself so that we have this movement of Spirit breathing into us, into matter, and then we breathe that Spirit back out. And then it just kind of keeps going. And especially when we start to interact with the world and with other people, we start to see this dynamic that this is relational. This is not, again, it's not a one-off experience where it just got in you and then it stops. But no, it's like this river. It's like this circle on a bike that just moves and turns and keeps spinning over and over again. That seems to be how it works. So then the question would be, well, what would stop it from working, right? What would be like a break in the pattern that would stop this movement from happening? And this is where I want to go back to what dōTERRA's language is. So they said that they want to source the most pure, potent, and effective oils on earth. So those three words, pure, potent, and effective, I think are hints at what could break this cycle. So the first one is pure. In the essential oil industry, they talk about adulteration quite a bit. And adulteration happens when you have an original substance and then something else is added to it. And then no longer is it pure. It's become adulterated because that added substance takes away the value that thing originally had. And in the essential oil industry, it could be synthetics. It could be added carrier oils. It could be the combination of other sources that actually are not part of that original plant material. Excuse me. But maybe it's another plant material, and so you're not really getting the pure. If it says cinnamon, it may not be totally cinnamon. It may be some other parts in there. So it's false, right? So adulteration is breaking down something that was pure, and now all of a sudden it's not pure anymore. So then for ourselves, that could break the cycle. Because this, to me, when I think of source to you and you to source, going round and round, that sounds pure to me. Just even metaphorically in my mind, I can see that being a pure thing. But it could become adulterated if substances creep into that at some point or several different points. And now all of a sudden, that's not what it is anymore. The added substances now are polluting it. And those substances could be very material in nature. They could be actually chemicals that come out of plants and not plants, but like factories, right? Like the chemicals that are harmful for me, or vaccinations. I know that's like something that has affected our family. So there, it could also be thoughts and negative emotional states. It could be the propagation of just negative energy that's being floated around online, and people are venting and ranting. That a lot of that is adulterating something that could be really pure about our human nature. So there's lots of evidence, I think, that would state that we're inundated with a lot of impurities through this adulteration. The second one is potency. So what makes something potent is that it's got this punch to it. The best way that I could describe this would be take your favorite beverage. It could be a hot drink, cold drink, just room temperature. And if you're used to it being a certain strength, then if you were given a cup of coffee that was too watery, then you wouldn't want to drink it, right? Because this is gross. This is not what I'm used to drinking. Or it could be hot chocolate, right? Or maybe a cider, a hot apple cider this time of year. That seems to be a really popular drink for good reason. It's really yummy. But if you have a hot apple cider and it's really, really weak, it's like you can barely taste the apple. it just doesn't taste what it normally tastes like. All of a sudden, it really is a lot weaker than its intended use in what you're used to having. So in the same way, then, we want something that's potent. We don't want the watered down version of life, right? We don't want it in our food. We don't want it in our drink. We don't want it in how fast our computer works, or whatever ways we're used to experiencing something, or how fast the internet is, our connection. We want something that's potent. We want the punch. And then the last one is the effectiveness. The effectiveness of an essential oil, it happens when you've got the purity intact, you've got the potency intact, and all of a sudden then it becomes super effective. And you don't need a lot of essential oil for it to be effective, to help calm a soothing stomach, or to relieve the tension in your head, or to bring some calm and peace into the room, into you as a person through the diffusing of the oil, or the rubbing on the feet or the back of the neck. I'm still amazed to this day, actually, at how effective these essential oils from dōTERRA are. And I don't know why I'm surprised, but I am, because it's like this little bottle. First of all, you start with a little bottle, so it's not a whole lot of substance there in the first place. But then we're saying we only need 1-2 drops, and that's it. And it's true. It's like that actually does something for me. It does something for my kids. It does something for other people that we've connected with. So then, if something can be that effective, do we believe then that we need to have more of something in life in order for it to really impact us? For some reason, we've got this mindset where more is more. More time exercising is better. More books that I read is better. More that I work, the more successful I will be. The more that I pray, the closer I'll get to God. The more that I attend seminars and workshops, the more equipped I will be to succeed or to develop. And it just seems strange to me that we buy into this, and I buy into it too. So I'm certainly not off the hook on this one. But if it's true that just one drop, let's say, if we use this analogy of the essential oil, one drop of source of the divine that's breathed into us, just one little moment, do we think that could be effective enough to alter us, to change us, to remind us of something perhaps that we have forgotten about? Another company that I want to highlight here is a company called Chocolate Soul. ChocolateSoulTraders.com is their site. They started to sell their cacao and chocolate to the farmers market here in Guelph, where we live. And they've been here for a little while. And then I think they were at Hillside, which is a music festival. And from the first time I actually tried their stuff, I really loved it. And I noticed that my reaction to it has been very, very good and positive. Sometimes when I have chocolate or cacao, it'll make me spiral. It won't make me feel very good. I'll notice that it doesn't sit well with me. Even though it maybe tastes really good and it's packaged well and I like it in the moment, I don't always feel great because of it. So I looked into a bit more to this company, started to talk to the rep more and find out where they've come from and their history. And so from their website, I want to read a little bit of what they do. So their goal is just to really transform the ways in which cacao is being sold. And they really care about how it's processed and how it's being sourced, where it's sourced from, and how it actually gets to its consumer. So they say, our cacao is organic and shade grown and sourced direct trade from indigenous communities, primarily in southern Mexico. They've also expanded into Dominican Republic, Ecuador, and Guatemala. Our horizontal trade relationships with our farmers go beyond the mere exchange of commodities and extends to reciprocity, ecological regeneration, and friendship. So the language here is amazing, and it very much mirrors what doTERRA is talking about with its co-impact sourcing and its source to you model. And again, there are many other companies, and I'm sure you support some that mean this really connects with you. But it is fun. I just want to highlight this because it really serves the point that our understanding of how we are connected to the divine, our meaning and our purpose in the world, we can see this being played out in the economy. And we can see this being played out by companies who are doing the work and are presenting a case so that we can now see that within ourselves. So we don't necessarily have to go to the church maybe that we thought we had to learn this spiritual journey. And again, it doesn't mean that you don't have to go to church, but even within our local marketplace, we can see that there is a movement happening whereby the ways in which products are created, the sources that they came from, the way that they are manufactured, the way in which they are shipped, and then when they come to us, all of those steps matter. Source matters, so that when it comes to us, we want to feel like that I believe in the process by which that got to me. I wholeheartedly endorse and support this particular company with this particular product because they cared enough to take care of the people that are harvesting those plants. They are doing their best to create equality with individuals who are living in parts of the world that can provide those coffee beans or can provide those articles that we want to wear on our clothes, or building materials that we use to create things, and all the list goes on and on of everything that we use. Now, their mission statements, this Chocolate Soul, is to create revolutionary foods that are good for mind, body, and soul. Soil, actually. They're good for mind, body, and soil. We are dedicated to offering a socially just, ecological, and dignified alternative to the conventional approach to trade, food production, and sharing. This means ongoing reflective practice of working in partnership, collaboration, and cooperation with farmers, growers, and communities in the Americas. I know the source, so that when it comes to me, I feel confident that I haven't adulterated the process, that I'm getting something that is pure, that the people involved are protecting the purity of that. I'm getting something that's potent, something that isn't watered down. It's not a weaker version of where it came from, but there was very deliberate decisions all along the way that kept its potency intact. And lastly, it's effective. It actually came to me in a way that does something positively for my life. It makes me feel good in my body. It helps liberate my mind. It gives my soul, my spirit, it makes it feel expanded. It is helpful to me. There's this desire to create this direct relationship from source to you, and then you back to source, and then source to you as part of a contained ecological cosmic system. Source has been planted inside of me. Source has come to me, and I am expressing myself as that source. Again, just quickly, I want to mention the two different websites that I was pulling from. So doTERRA's site is source2u.com, and the other one with the cacao, for all my cacao lovers out there, is chocosoultraders.com. You'll be able to find that on my show notes as well. But really, really great content on those two sites, and that will, if you want to dig in more to them, that'd be the place to go. The music today was brought to you by an artist by the name of Be Still the Earth. So that's it for me for this season, this last episode of this year. And I hope you guys, if you listen to this before Christmas, hope you have good holidays, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.